Welcome back to the Make It Your Business podcast, the podcast where I, Duncan Casey of Copper Sprocket, and
James Murray of James Murray Finance
discuss our trials and tribulations as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as raconteurs. That's just fun to say. We're not really that. I don't know what it means. And our journey through entrepreneurship we both are business owners, small business owners, and we wanted to share our journey with you. If you're thinking of starting a business, or if you're in a business, you own a business now, hopefully we have some shared experiences, but we just wanted to make this about the journey, not the perspective of someone who's already made it. Anyway, to that end, in this episode of Make It Your Business, we're going to talk about evergreen products, and are they still viable in 2026 and beyond? We're going to unpack what evergreen means, how it relates to business, how it's evolved, with online business and that kind of thing, what passive income means and what the allure of that is, and again, whether or not that's a viable option these days with evergreen products. And we're going to kind of stress test some ideas as well to see if they truly are evergreen products and whether or not they can stand up on their own 2 feet. So let's get into it.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack.
It is. Well, let's start with the definition then, because I think it's important to set out our stall here. What is an evergreen product?
Well, you first brought that term to me because I didn't really understand what it was before.
Oh, okay.
A couple of years ago, you said about creating an evergreen product. I don't think you were using it in the same reference that a lot of people sort of the appeal of an evergreen product, and I link it personally with you mentioned passive. So I think those things. I think an evergreen. The idea of an evergreen product is the idea that it's always going, and you get a return on your investment and initially outlaid at the start, and in turn you leave it, and it passively brings you in income.
Yeah, I suppose. I think for me, because obviously the term evergreen means it is viable all year round. It's not seasonally dependent. It's not technologically dependent necessarily. In the context of business, it's typically used to refer to things like a set and forget type thing. So like a PDF. Typically for a long time, behind a paywall, you put a PDF to it, but it's infinitely scalable because once you've paid for the production of said thing, it just goes behind a paywall, and then people put money in and you are hands off, and it
could be a training course, something where you've maybe got downloadable training materials that then keep getting downloaded, and maybe every time you pass a certain one, you get another one.
Well, courses are sort of the extension of that, which is that in order to encourage recurring revenue, you get them to go onto a plan, and then they pay each month, and then each month they get sent the link. It's all automated, and you can even create the illusion of being in the room by setting up videos that are unskipped. You take all the controls off the video, so it looks like a live video, that kind of thing.
I wonder if like an app game. I remember. I won't mention any names, but I remember a few people, not me, that got addicted to like Candy Crush and things like that. I wonder, because I don't think there was ever a final boss on Candy Crush.
No,
I think it was.
Not, yeah.
I know somebody went on like level 1000 something. I was like, how many hours you've invested in Candy Crush? But obviously, I'm guessing the app developers or people that own that, they get revenue from the ad spend. People keep going on it. There's a continuous level upgrade on a very core basic level. I guess that's an evergreen product.
It's what they used to do with arcade machines, wasn't it? It was like you could never actually complete it, so you're just constantly feeding it coins and trying to get to
taking all your money.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's not quite what we're talking about here, but in the context, typically it is used in the context of it's something that will probably have an upfront cost to set up, but once it's set up per unit, there is no additional. Essentially, you might find that you have ad spend around, you have to advertise it and that kind of thing. Advertising, marketing probably then factors in, but basically it's.
But if you've probably got a clear quantifiable return on investment. So if you've got a certain ad spend, a certain amount of downloads, spend enough here, get enough downloads, got enough end customers, and it keeps the cycle going. But I think viable models probably, and again, the title of this is, what are they still relevant? Because obviously there's been a lot of disruption, which we'll get to, but I think up to now, they've been a successful model has either been in the digital space, has been sort of training models, it's been downloadable content, signing up to platforms.
Yeah.
And then in the physical world, I guess we're talking vending machines, things that are sitting in place.
I wouldn't say that's evergreen though, because you still have to supply it with stock. It can't just sit there on its own. It still needs someone to come out and service it, empty it. You know, I guess they've become more evergreen once you could get contactless payments on them, but you still have to stock it with whatever it's selling. So,
yeah, true.
I think so. You know, we said why it became a buzzword since sort of 2010, 2020.
Yeah.
I think because people were, you know, everyone's moved online. You know, I think it took a generation or so to kind of get used to the idea of you can set up a business purely online and work from anywhere and, you know, do that kind of thing. And I think obviously the attraction. And there's a whole industry around selling this as an idea as well. But the attraction is, I don't have to go to an office every day. I don't have to deal with a boss. I don't blah, blah, blah. And once I've done this, I just get passive income. But of course, it's being sold by people who are selling how to do it. Fine, I get that. But you need to have something that's worth selling. Yes. And in order to do that, you need some real world experience. You can't have a purely sort of... circular economy that just feeds itself how to do what, like, unless there's some practical on the ground, unless you've got something to sell, and that expertise has to come from somewhere. So I think it became a buzzword because I think it, you know, like most things, it was a shortcut to riches,
easy
basically.
money.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of attitude grew out of the .com boom where suddenly everyone was making loads of money, a bit like, you know, in the 80s when you had all the commodities and blah blah. It's kind of yeah, I suppose that's where it comes from.
Well, I think there's an appeal to that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Sort of set something up and then you go and sit on the beach and get.
You can't to this day. You can't open a YouTube video without some twat in his wherever telling you like, this might be the easiest way to make 10 grand a minute with socks or whatever.
Yeah,
and
socks or stocks.
This might, you click here for my free model. It's like, look,
if
mate,
you were doing
that's
that,
what you were doing, there's no way you'd be there hocking it.
Yeah,
and also you'd have some money to invest in. There's a guy, I don't want to say his name. I don't actually remember his name. He's a pot-bellied, middle-aged someone who wants to talk to you about commercial property finance or whatever, and how he lives in Monaco and blah blah blah, and he's filming it on a bloody potato, right? It looks dreadful, and I know I'm particularly sensitive to kind of video production stuff, but it's like, mate, if you were making the kind of returns you're talking about, mate, A, you could afford a haircut, B, you could afford a personal trainer, and C, you know, you'd have this shot looking at, you know, by your own admission, you're like, I'm in Monaco, and like, don't you want my lifestyle? And it's like, not really, mate, no, because it looks like you can't afford a new iPhone, and you've got a balcony over, you know, it's like, it's honestly, and I think that the where things are going with all of this is that it's people are becoming very inured to it. They're becoming very cynical, but the appeal, I suppose, of something like this is that it can sit there and generate revenue for you without you having to solicit. Once you get the thing rolling, you don't have to solicit for the business. You don't have to provide anything. It just
the irony as well is that I think it's now been disrupted quite a lot, because although it's probably now easier to make evergreen products cheaply, in turn it's also sort of cannibalized that industry anyway, because I mean, let's use ChatGPT as an example. There may have been 5 years ago a downloadable content on my top 10 ways to get X, or top 10 tips to get X, download here, and now you could just type that into ChatGPT and it'll give you very good answers, and it can be tailored and everything else. So I think there's quite a lot where it's been disrupted, and especially on the training courses side things, I think really the winners here are the people that can bring it into, well, they either use it not necessarily for direct sales, but use it as a tool to get sales. So resources, downloadable tools, free resources, things to maybe just build a client base or a marketing database that you can then get in your ecosystem.
Yeah.
So I think, again, that might not be considered an evergreen product in the fact that it's not directly giving you income, but as a marketing asset, it sort of sits out there working for you.
Yeah, I suppose it's as distinct from a lead magnet or a, you know, that this is, I think, in its most innocent form, it's an extension of consultancy, right? So I charge X per hour to go and consult with a business, but you can pay, a third of that if you just have it passively. So if you have it actively. So in other words, you can get it written down. You just have to read it and interpret it. Mm-hmm. So it's cheaper for you, and you get the same knowledge. I'm just not there in person.
Yeah.
And it's a way people justify it by saying, well, I have to keep putting my prices up because I'm so valuable to everyone, but you can have it for far less money. That's the marketing angle on it.
Yeah, because you get 1,000 people that download that, maybe then 100 that then buy your next product that is a book or something else.
If it's a course that takes you a day to deliver,
yeah,
but 1,000 people or infinite people can take it in a day, then
But then I think the trick is then to connect that with like a live product. So whether you then host actual seminars, physical things, and again that kind of leads you through. But obviously that's not as appealing because that does involve more work. Yeah. And I think that then really a lot of the people that have sort of gone down this road, they might maybe try to create multiple evergreen products because they're just looking for the quick win, sit on the beach. I just think that's just not the approach, especially now. You might have been able to get away with it a few years ago, but now I just think there might be a few mugs out there that will buy your stuff. But I think overall it's not going to consistently attract enough users, really, especially as people become more and more educated with what they can do online for free.
I think as well, there's this huge market in people selling, and there's some truth to it as well. And Alex Hormozy et al. They'll talk about how you have to play the numbers. It's volume. It's da-da-da. And there is some truth to that. There's undeniable. But I think you can get caught up in that and think, well, if I just need 1 million leads, and as long as I'm hitting 2% of those, I'll be netting da-da-da. And everyone does those sort of back of a this is an outdated phrase, like back of a fag paper,
back of a fag packet. yeah.
It's like, who's got those anymore? But hopefully not many people. But it's one of those sort of rough guess, whatever, and or back of a beer mat, I suppose would be more appropriate. People on the beers having an idea, and it's kind of like but I think. A lot of this stuff people forget that they need to provide value, and they need people to they need recommendations as well. It's not just a case of up your Google ad spend and just throw whatever crap in front of people you can, because it's
right, be a loss leader then, really. I mean,
well, exactly.
I'm not even a leader because you might just end up throwing money away. But I think it's just I think the hybrid model is the way to go moving forward. And unless you're sort of a celebrity, I think there's probably, we talked about people sort of put people like Ryan Reynolds or the Rock, Dwayne Johnson as business entrepreneurs, and and credit to them, they've used their position to get where they need.
Well, if you don't have to worry about authority building, marketing, or awareness,
there's a lot of they can also deploy teams to do all of this stuff. They don't necessarily
seed capital.
They haven't necessarily been in the situation where they've had to go networking, start file at company's house and do all of that stuff.
There's also a lot of false so like take Gwyneth Paltrow with her, was it Goo or whatever, these products she sells that are like.
Yeah, if Jenny around the street decided to bring out a perfume that smelt of her vagina, I don't think that it would do as well. I mean, she might have
certain subsets into the corners of the internet. It might do all right, but
if you are a certain celebrity, you've just got instant access, and I just don't think that business model should be taken. It gets
you over a lot of skepticism hurdles as well. That's what I mean by that. It's like you say, a vaginal perfume is like,
and also you're just going to have super fans as well. So you that will just buy anything that you do. So you ultimately, it should be put in its own category. So I think those type of categories can probably produce some sort of materials that they just know. I mean, they could just bring out any old book, the fourth book that they've ever done or something, and it will sell to a certain amount of people, no matter how.
Caine's always doing that. Michael Caine, he always does. It is my life. Or not many people know that, and it's all like, like anecdotes from. I met John Wayne, and it's like, I know, but Okay, like, but I mean, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I love those things. I'm fairly.
Well, maybe are you one of the?
I'm probably. I love Michael Caine. There's no shade on him, but I do. But you're right. It's kind of.
That's
like
not the same as. Yeah, that's not the same as 99%.
Because you and I see this on LinkedIn, right? People putting these people, like holding these people up as like bastions of entrepreneurship,
industry,
and
yeah.
I'm like,
no, and to their fairness, they've used what they've got and they've done it well, and I'm not saying that they haven't worked hard, but they are just in a different category, and you can't compare yourself with them.
Like Ryan Reynolds, for example, it's just all that is what's it called, vertical integration. There's plenty more successful examples.
But I remember watching something on Kevin Hart, and it's like, right, now I'm going to start a whiskey company, and Conor McGregor, like they're all. I think Ricky Gervais is funny with this because he kind of takes the piss out of it as well. With his whiskey, I think he's a 50% shareholder.
Yeah, because you've got to understand, like whiskey, you don't like.
Vodka. I think his is actually, but
it's usually spirits that don't need any maturation. So it's like, they don't need to sit in a cask at all.
It's like, I'm the face of this. I'm 50% owner. I've had nothing to do with this other than put my face on it. Please buy my vodka.
Or like, it's not his product, but I don't think. But David Beckham with, is it Hague whiskey?
Oh yeah,
which is just a blended Scotch. It's nothing to write home about. It comes in a blue bottle. They put a lot of money behind marketing, but you're just buying that from various distillers.
But I think what happened is these. I mean, we're going off on a tangent here, but these celebrities, instead of just getting paid to endorse a product or a one-off fee, I think was it like 50 Cent with Coca-Cola or something, like decided to actually get shares in it instead of getting an option, and they do it in the movies, don't they? Instead of getting a one-off payment, they get a back end, and it's I think they've just got wise to actually being more than just employed by those companies. They've actually become
so again, not to go too much of a tangent here, but like in order to do that, you have to own a company. So you don't have to, but it's smart to set up a company. So like Alec Baldwin, for example, got caught out because of Rust. He was a producer. He wasn't though, but he was down as a producer. But and look, in an innocent way, it's about them saying, look, I won't have to charge you on paper. I'm charging you my fee, but I'm giving up a proportion of it for back end. So, but in order to do that, you do it through this company, and then this company holds the thing. But therefore, I get a producer credit because I want back end. But then, of course, he's then got done for like lack of safety on set, which probably he's not a line producer. He's not arranging the set every day. He's not like he's a producer really in name only. But it's also to then be able to give him back end. Arnold Schwarzenegger cut himself a massive deal on Terminator 3. He got something like 12% of the gross, which is just insane. Jack Nicholson, famously with the Joker, he got proceeds from anything with the Joker's face on it, not just.
So that's why image rights.
Well, that's why his Joker's specifically called Jack Napier, where he's not referred to as that in any other media because they didn't want him getting rights to like all the comics or like specifically that version of the Joker. So you can have the merchandise and all that stuff from the film, but not from.
Interesting.
So anyway,
God, it's amazing, like your movie knowledge, how we can bring this into business topics.
I'm just. I suppose what I'm trying to say is there's a lot more.
It's relevant. I think it's good. And these are the things people don't appreciate.
That's an product. If you're an actor, you just you do your work for 6 months or whatever, and then you just. He's still making it, like Jack Nicholson's still coining it in off that.
Would a Christmas song be evergreen because it's only at Christmas, but it is consistent?
Technically, because again, those through PRS, so the Performance Rights, not Society, whatever it is, it's called PRS. You just set up with that, and then basically any radio play. It's gotten a bit more murky, but even Spotify and that are linked to that, so you still get some.
All the boys from East 17 start gearing up for their windfall every December or November, whenever they start playing Christmas songs.
Have you seen About a Boy?
Yeah,
that's about he inherited his dad.
Yes,
he's
just playing off, living off there.
He just lives off it.
So I think hybrid models. I think going back to that point, I think they're probably the winner in this, and just trying to really bring it into your business. I mean, on a low level, I guess I've got downloadable content on my website. It's completely free, workbooks and free magazines. they're free gifts. So in exchange for people's details to hopefully, as I say, get them into my ecosystem so they can then learn more about me, build trust, and then and use my services. But if I was a public speaker or I was doing events, again, that same principle would work. And I think, making this sort of workable for people listening that have got businesses, I definitely recommend that side of things. So anything where you can add value and educate your customer base to build trust, and offer free stuff via your website or via your social platforms is a good way of doing things.
Well, we're getting more and more. So, I mean, we're talking lead magnets at that point and free, giveaways and stuff. And I think the Evergreen product sort of sits in between those and the higher tier stuff, but it's more and more, they say typically it takes 12 to 15 touch points before someone will buy from you usually. So it needs to be, a blog, a video, blah, 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 blah. Then a call, then a this, then a that. And this is just a way of putting more things in there effectively to get people familiar with you, to get and also, from a business owner's point of view, this is a way of pre-qualifying people as well. So in your case, doing your what's it called, the finance
cash flow forecast.
Thank you. If someone's done that and then they come to you and go, okay, I want a loan, and you go, have you done your cash flow forecast? Yeah, right, there you go. Thank you very
Brilliant,
much.
yeah.
But pretty, you're not dealing with someone going, what? Because they've done it.
Yeah, you're educating your audience, which is making your job easier as well.
That's the idea. But, and also, you're providing, and those things, they cost you some time and sweat equity and maybe some money if you're going to pay for stuff to set up. But once you've done it, like I've done it, I've got a free 30-day video content plan course on my website you can go to, and you just get a video. You get a video and a PDF, like a workbook each.
Yeah, yours is a sort of training, but you're not. Yeah, but it's a free, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and the idea is that you then can create some decent looking content. You can plan it, you can strategize, and then you can just test it.
How did just always trying to put in things that might be useful. How much did that cost you to implement that on your website, or did you do it yourself?
I did it all myself.
Okay.
So it cost, but in terms of cost, I suppose you would quantify it as, it took me a day to shoot and edit. It took me. It took me about 2 to 3 days of work to set up. So in monetary terms, my day rate's about £600. So you're looking at about 1,800 quid, if you put it that way.
Just trying to think, because I guess people would think, instead of creating this free product, I'm going to get money off. All of a sudden, I'm going to have to pay money up front to get a thing that I'm giving out for free.
But if you're good at it, you should be able to do it.
Yeah, right? But it's further down the line. All of a sudden, it goes away from this, like the prestige or the allure of this lovely evergreen thing that's going to go.
And then, of course, AI has come into this as well, and people think, I just need to prompt it. It will make it, market it, do all the things. I just sit back and going it in. It's like, do you really? If that was feasible, there'd be people doing that. Now there would be people out there telling you they are doing it.
Well, that's where I think, and without going too much on it, that's where personal brand comes in, isn't it? I think building up, showing authenticity and trying to share with your audience who you are. It's the only way in the future people are going to be able to differentiate themselves from all of the monotonous AI that's going to be churned out. So, I've got some. I've got 5 R's to know if your evergreen product is sustainable or not.
This is great. Yeah.
Did it all myself. So these 5 R's, if you're thinking of doing an evergreen product, which is still possible, if you can say yes to all of these 5, then you genuinely have an evergreen product that is going to be sustainable. If it's no to any of them, you need to start asking yourself questions and think, is there a way in which I can rectify that? So first one, is it relevant? Does it solve a problem that people will always have? 2, is it resistant? It doesn't collapse when trends or platforms change. If you've just got one platform, that platform gets shut. If it's not going to be there anymore, it's not resistant. 3rd one, recurring. So will people need it more than once? So that's like completing a training program, but then they go on to the next phase of that. If they're learning a different language, and you would have different levels of that. So it would be A, B, C, and so forth, and it could be recurring. Number 4, is it reliable? So stays useful without constant updates. And then 5, is it reachable? So does it appeal to a wide enough audience to stay alive? So relevant, resistant, recurring, reliable, reachable.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good sort of tester, a litmus test to see if you've got a truly evergreen product.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. And I think by their nature, these things tend to be, you have to start with something that you can basically, like I have, that you can essentially just crib off your own knowledge, that you've got whatever you need to make it available, and you can just start putting it out there and marketing it to your existing network. That's a good stress test. I've said stress test a lot today. I don't know what. But it's a good way of testing it, and sort of, and being, I think certainly, when it comes to recurrence and resistance and the relevance to a point, it's like you need to also understand like by what metrics you're going to measure this, and look at you need to understand how you set one of these up so that you can monitor the numbers, monitor the demographics, get really clear on the data so that you can see what's working and then double down on that for the next one, because these are sort of sector in and of themselves for your business. You need to be kind of thinking, okay, right, I need a little, that's my evergreen thought, and and I'm trying to think like that as well and provide different things just from a lead magnet standpoint. But when it comes to then offering upscaling to something you can pay for, what could that look like? And but again, you need to draw on what you have to offer right now, and this is I think this is the problem for a lot of people, that just don't want to do that because they go, I don't know.
Well, yeah, you need the experience in the first place. You need to have something unique, or put a lot of effort in it in the front end. So if you don't have anything unique, you need to go and do the research, do the work, and then share it in a unique way. Yeah. And I think this is it. I think for me, like more of the final sort of closing point on it is I think evergreen is still viable, but shouldn't be confused with being completely passive unless you are a celebrity.
But even then, you've done some work. Alex Hormozy, again, he will always say you still need to do the work. It's not, the evergreen product is the result of, like in my case, nearly 16 years in the film industry, and working in marketing and all that. It's the culmination of my experience. It's not, you can't just do that if you're 21, you've just come out of uni and you've got no real world experience. That's not, who's going to buy that? There has to be value there.
But I think you could have done that years ago, because I think you could have convinced. But I think people now will be too smart for that, and you can just get that information so readily available. So the only thing that makes it unique is your unique experience, the movies you've worked on, the training you've gone through, and the stories that you have to share. That's the only way in which you can make it unique and interesting.
So what we're saying, to land on, is that I am the new Michael Caine. Thank you very much for joining us for this episode of the podcast, where my battery is about to die on my laptop, which is why we're sort of rushing to a close. But I think we've covered off everything there, and I love the 5 R's. Thank you so much for listening to this episode or watching this episode, and please, of course, the usual things: do subscribe, do leave us a rating and review, especially if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Just really helps.
Please share it. Share it with a friend, anybody that's involved in any type of business or wants to start a business or is just entrepreneurial. I think that that's sort of our demographic that we're trying to help and assist, really.
100%. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.